What did it feel like to be from one place but grow up in a different place?
I think it's important that people maintain what their parents or what their grandparents or even what each person wants to make their own. Step back or be ashamed of what you want.
What you think in your childhood helped you come up with this concept?
I would tell them to not be ashamed or scared of anything. When you're young, you want to fit into what is normal, but take the step, take the adventure. And also business-wise, we do teach you how to cook. You leave with a lot of knowledge. But more than that, we want to bring cooking close to everyone.
Okay, well, now we're going to travel to Spain. España with Alex Villar. So as we've spoken before, Alex is the co-founder of the Cooking Clubhouse in Madrid, a place that I've had so many epic dinners and met amazing people from around the world. And so Cultures is thrilled to partner with the Cooking Clubhouse for our Cultures Celebrations Madrid. If you don't know Celebrations, we do one for every destination that's in the magazine. Every issue has a different destination, and it has authentic recipes from chefs around the world, well-regarded chefs, as well as home chefs, different packages for whether it's a home chef or a professional chef. And Alex is a professional chef, so let me tell you about him. So along with Eric Belli, Alex is the founder of Madrid's Cooking Clubhouse, as I said, which opened in 2022. Its purpose is to create a culinary space that allows people with similar passions to meet and learn skills behind what it takes to make an amazing chef. They're a cadre of professionally trained chefs and now professors, is what they call them. They're cooking professors of cuisine or professors of cuisine who hold countless hours of experience in Michelin-starred restaurants. They guide guests step by step through mouth-watering recipes, and that intends to satisfy the most attuned taste buds, all the while making amazing friends and family, and you will amaze friends and family as well with your newfound skills. So those of you coming to the cooking experience this evening, we look forward to welcoming you. You are going to really enjoy the experience, but you'll absolutely love the food. So, you know, at Cultures, we talk about third culture kids, so people who've grown up around the world, or multi-ethnic, people with a foot in 2 or more cultural worlds. Well, Alex is one of those. So whether it's Mexico or Canada or maybe even Spain, he's a third culture kid who's been conditioned by the best of each of those countries. At age 18, he forged a new path by moving to San Sebastian to study at the Basque Culinary Center and then work at a restaurant, Noma, in Copenhagen. So without further ado, please welcome Alex Villar. I'll hand it to you when you answer. You'll have to have longer answers than my questions. Okay, so this one is easy. Tell us in detail how you grew up.
Yes. Okay, so I grew up in Canada. So tell you a little bit about my story. So my grandparents are from Spain. They moved to Mexico during the Spanish Civil War. My parents were then born in Mexico, so we have a very strong Mexican culture. And then when I was around 3 years old, we moved to Canada, and that's where I grew up until I was 18. I then moved to Spain, and if you've been to Spain, you know that it's amazing. And I ended up staying there. So my time in Canada, I grew up, we were, let's say, lower middle class at the beginning, and eventually middle class. Canada, it's very equal. So there's very little low class and very little upper class. Everyone is very equal, all right? And I grew up in Canada in one household, but in a different country, let's say that. So in my house, my parents were very strict on us maintaining our Spanish and Mexican heritage. So they were very strict up to the fact that like we were not allowed to speak English in the house. Like it was, if they heard us speaking English, we would get in trouble. And that really made me learn both Spanish and English at the same time. So in the house, it was a very strong Mexican heritage, culture. And then outside, in my school, with my classmates and everyone else, it was very Canadian. So I was able to sort of pick and choose the best and worst of each culture at the same time. And that really helped me become who I am today. You know, just the fact that my parents obligated me to speak Spanish opened the doors for me to be able to move to Spain and do university in a country that's a different language than where I grew up. Apart from that, you know, again, growing up in Canada as an immigrant, more or less, was very strange because my parents used to love, for example, throwing dinner parties. And they would invite everyone over, and we would be in the backyard with, not kidding, a whole open pig outside in the backyard, roasting. And then my Canadian neighbors would come out, look at the window, and be what are these guys doing? You know, these weirdos. But that helped me. At the beginning, I was very shy of that. And you know, my friends would be like, "Oh, what'd you do on the weekend?" And I would not tell them about this ever. There would no way I would tell them. But eventually, as I grew older, I started to take all this as benefit, you know, because it opened my eyes to different cultures, and it allowed me to see that there's something very beautiful behind being very different, you know. And this, again, it allowed me to sort of become who I am today, and you know, sort of forge the path that I'm currently on. It's good.
Fantastic, thank you. How many TCKs can relate? Yes. I heard you laughing, Jaime. So, what did it feel like to be from one place but grow up in a different place?
Yes. So this is actually a very interesting question. Maybe I have the misconception, but I feel like when people think of immigration or an immigrant, they sometimes see it as a negative thing. It might not be the best word or aspect. And I think when people think of immigration, they think of people looking for a better life, a better economy, and so on. So in my personal sense, my parents and my family in Mexico, it was very opposite of that. You know, my parents were actually born into a very well-off and wealthy family in Mexico. And the country that I know in Mexico is very different from what a lot of people know in Mexico. And my parents specifically moved to Canada to sort of give us, their kids, not a better economical future, but a better freedom in one way or another. Because I say this to my parents very often. My parents moved to Mexico and their quality of life dropped significantly. Like in Mexico, my parents had, we had help at home. We had chauffeurs, we had people that were there to help them. They moved to Canada? No, in Mexico. Oh. So in Mexico we had. But it dropped significantly? Economically, yes. Because in Canada, it's going back to what I mentioned, there's a middle class. There's only the 1% has. So it dropped when you went to Canada? Economically, yes. Okay. But our freedoms expanded. Because if we would have stayed in Mexico, I most likely would have been dragged into the family business, whether or not I liked it. I would have most likely been forced to maybe marry into a last name. Not necessarily, but you know, there's this bubble that you're sort of forced to follow. And my parents gave all that up so their kids, could be more free. So growing up, being from a country like Mexico and seeing all that, but then going to Canada and being very normal, that also opened my eyes to being able to sort of pick and choose the things that now have made me the person that I am. You know, very open, very happy, and in one way or another, very free.
Fantastic. I didn't mean to cut you off. That was a great story. So what would you tell others who grew up differently? How could they translate their experiences as a child into a I don't know where that came from. Oh God. Into a successful adult life.
Can you repeat the question? I got thrown off.
I know, I distracted you.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, what would you tell others who grew up differently about how they could translate their experiences as a child into a successful adult life?
I would tell them to not be ashamed or scared of anything. Again, when you're young, there's a lot of things that, when you're young, you want to fit into what is normal. And you sort of hide things, or you don't tell people things because, again, you want to be normal. But the older you get, the more that those things actually help you. So I would just tell everyone to not be scared and actually own that. You know, there's nothing better than telling the story, the fact that my parents used to have like a pig in the back roasting and all their friends would be over, and these kind of small details that I remember very clearly, they've allowed me to be open to new experiences, to not be scared of doing things differently, and to maybe not necessarily always have to follow the cultural norm, you know? I think it's important that people maintain what their parents or what their grandparents or even what each person wants to make their own, to share this and own it 100%, 110%, and never really step back or be ashamed of what you want and what your family or what your culture has given you. Because in one way or another, these pig stories that I have, that is a story that I can tell because I've lived that. If you haven't lived that, you can't tell that. And it might be a dumb story like that one, but it could be something else that you get to share with somebody. And these are experiences that, you know, the more that you share them, the more that you own them, the more vision that you've seen and have to share.
I love that. So at Cultures, we talk a lot about being fully authentically you. That's our new tagline going into 2025, fully authentically you. So we talk about how other people tell us our stories. It always trips me out when people literally try to tell me who I am. They're like, they'll ask a question and I give the answer and they're like, no, that's not it. I'm like, what? It's like, what? I just met you. It's like, what? So it's interesting that people see you and they have certain perceptions of who you might be, where you might be from, what you look like, what you sound like. As we said, I'm Trinidadian Costa Rican. Of course, people immediately think I'm African American, except for sometimes in Europe, they don't think so. But they don't usually think so. But it's interesting because then whatever that perception is for them, they put it onto the person, right? So each of us, at Cultures, we talk about us knowing who we are and being very clear on what that is, and that nobody could tell us who we are. Definitely. So do you think those experiences that you had as a child gave you the wherewithal to feel who you really are and to step into that, and then gave you the courage to do what you're doing now, to take some of those risks?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, again, I sort of going back to like the story of my parents. Again, my parents, they grew up in this amazing, luscious lifestyle in Mexico, and they gave all that up. They took this huge risk and gave all that up in the hopes that we would be able to live our future more freely. And that's now, when I was young, I didn't really realize this. Like, we would live in Canada, and then we would like every so often go and visit my family in Mexico, and when I was there, I would see these crazy things that we were not used to. But I never put one and one together, and now I can take a step back and it's like, my parents took this huge risk, moved the whole family just to see what life could be like. And they stuck it through. Like they could have moved back, but they're like, no, like this is it. So now, what was the last part of the question?
Did it give you the courage? Did it give
Yes.
you the wherewithal to now take the risk that you've taken in creating the Cooking Clubhouse?
Yes, exactly. So now that I'm older, I saw that huge risk that they take, and that has helped me both a lot, like tons. When I was 18, I applied for a couple culinary schools, one in the States, one in Canada, and one in Spain. Luckily, I got accepted to all three of them, and the easiest thing would have been to stay home in Canada, comfortable, you know? But I was like, no, let's go as far away as you can, explore something new. A lot of people would have just been comfortable staying home and not taking a risk. But for me, seeing all the risks that my parents had taken made it very easy for me to be like, no, like let's go. You know, if it doesn't work, you can always come back, but take the step, take the adventure. And also business-wise, I'm 30, I'm quite young, and I opened the Cooking Clubhouse when I was 28. Before that, I had a pilot project, and I was also very young. And a lot of my friends were like, "How are you doing this? Like, aren't you scared?" Hell yeah, I was scared. Like, you know,
Right, because the building that they're in Madrid is a 2-story building. You renovated the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they took out tons of trash.
Yeah, it was a big
Tons
project.
of concrete to unveil this beautiful, iconic building and very well decorated. And you'll see tonight such a curated experience. So, and I'm saying all that, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I'm
it's
saying
fine.
all that to really paint the picture of what this risk was. And people said in Madrid, they're like, "You're crazy. Why are you doing this?"
Yeah. Like, even my friends in Spain and even my friends in Canada, they're like, how are you not scared of doing this? And I was scared. I was terrified, you know, and I was playing with, one way or another, I was playing with my own money, with others people's money, with investors, and it was terrifying. But it was, you know, with everything that I've seen in my childhood and my parents, and my parents have always been really big entrepreneurs, it allowed me to sort of overcome those fears and be like, hey, you know what, you're young. If it doesn't work, you're still young. You can do it again. Keep on trying. Don't be scared. And that has really helped me to the point where we're now, where it's very successful. It's successful economically, but it's also successful because I love what I do. Our team loves being a part of what they're doing because they're all chefs from Michelin stars. And if you've seen The Bear, you know working in Michelin star restaurants is not ideal. We've sort of broken that culture of the toxic kitchen. So we're successful in many, many different ways. And all of this has sort of been building up from everything that I have lived up until my 30 years.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, I mentioned what the space looks like. Tell us about the stages, because you did the upstairs first, which is where the cooking happens, and then you did the downstairs, the long, like, family table.
Yes.
But then there were still other parts that still were boarded up, right? And you opened those in stages. So kind of tell us the purpose of the Cooking Clubhouse and the different parts of it and how you unveiled each part.
Of course. So the Cooking Clubhouse, it is a cooking school. The idea is that when you visit us, you learn about traditional Spanish techniques, you learn about traditional Spanish food. But more than that, we emphasize the social aspect of cooking and eating. For us in Spain and in many Latin American countries, actually, food is a very social thing, you know? And in Spain, you gather family and friends together on a Sunday, or actually, I'm not kidding when I say that Spaniards, 4 or 5 times a week, you're out and about, you're having coffee, you're having wine, because food is a very social thing. So at the Clubhouse, we emphasize that. We do teach you how to cook. You leave with a lot of knowledge. But more than that, we want to bring cooking close to everyone, because cooking can be very therapeutic, but also very social, very enjoyable. So when I first moved to Madrid to start building the project, the idea was to find a location that was about 400 square meters. And I searched the city, I walked all of it.
Do you know how many feet that is?
I'm not sure.
Okay, somebody will have to
It's
pull
quite big.
that up.
Yeah. So the idea was to find a location that was about 400 square meters. And then I ran into the current location, and I went in, and the moment I saw it, I was like, this is it. I sent my business partner, Eric, videos, and he's like, you're crazy. Like, there's no way. And I was like, this is it. I see it. I see the table. I see that. And the space was 600 square meters. So it was 200 more than what we were looking for, which was sort of negative at the beginning, but very positive towards the end. And we started off with a project, doing the renovations, doing everything. And if you've ever done renovations, you know that there's always hidden costs associated with this, particularly when you have a budget for 400 square meters, but then you go up to 600 square meters. So we had to do it in a couple different sections. The first one was the main floor, which is where we have our cooking area. You work in pairs, and each pair has their own cooking station with all of the necessary ingredients, utensils, cooking stovetops. And then the class is about an hour and 50 minutes long. It's very interactive, very social. The hard part, which is the chopping and all of that, we give it to you already prepared, so no need to do that. So you do the fun part of cooking, which is actually putting things together and taking it from raw ingredients to a cooked meal. Once that cooking portion is done, about an hour and 50 minutes, you then go downstairs to this 7-meter, I'm not sure how many feet that is, imperial style table where you sit down and you get to share the meal with complete strangers, you know? When was the last time you guys sat down for dinner with a stranger? Last week, all right. Anyone else?
She came from South Africa.
Okay, all right. So it's not very common. And at the clubhouse, you can rent out the whole space if you like. But the free sale, which is what we do regularly, which is what Donnie experienced, you go by yourself or in a pair or a group of four, whatever you want. And then beside you or in front of you, you have a couple from Spain, and then a group of four from Berlin, and then 2 more from Barcelona. And at the beginning, nobody knows each other. But all of our experiences are bottomless wine pairing. So the more you drink, the more you start to get to know everyone.
Yeah. Like people, I mean, I don't drink, so
Yeah.
I can loosen up very easily, but it's pretty hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
People are very nice by the end of the night.
Exactly. And then, you sit down and you get to cook, you get to eat what you've made, plus a couple appetizers and desserts that our chefs have made. So it turns out to be a 7-course meal with 5 different wines. But more than that, you get to share a meal with strangers. And at the table, it's always this amazing vibe of people talking, communicating. Where are you from? I'm from here. What have you done? You're from South Africa. I'm going there in 2 weeks. It's very unique. I've been very lucky. I've been able to travel and live all over the world. And I have, not to say this about my own concept, but I have yet to see something so similar and so heartwarming and unique up until today. Yeah.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, you all know, even, 2 years ago, we did our 5th anniversary world tour, and I was in 22 countries that year. And usually I'm in at least 7, 10 each year. And we do culinary experiences, some of the best Michelin star restaurants around the world. This is the most unique and wonderful experience that I've ever had. And then the food is just out of this world, because some of those restaurants, you're like, how did you get these stars? It's usually about the experience more than the food, right? But the experience here is so heartwarming and so full of community. I mean, people really leave with friends when it's over. And I'm looking forward to that with you all tonight. So tell me what you think in your childhood helped you come up with this concept? Or was it you and Eric together? Did you come up with it?
No, Eric joined me a little bit afterwards. What helped me come up with this concept at the beginning? Honestly, going back to this pig story at my parents' house. They used to love throwing dinner parties. My parents are huge foodies, and they would do these, not extravagant, but very thought out and very different food dinners at their house, which I would always be a part of. I would always help them do this, do that. And I think that sort of helped me realize that more than just a cooking class, it had to be sort of an experience. It had to be more than just, all right, guys, put the onions in this and that's it. It had to be a whole closed circle experience, which is what we do offer at the Paella Club. At the Cooking Clubhouse. So I think that was sort of the biggest driver. Also, at the beginning, the idea was to open a cooking school that was very focused on cooking. And we quickly realized that the majority of the guests don't want that. You want to go enjoy. You don't want someone yelling at you, no, that's not how you do it. No, you want to enjoy and sort of disconnect from your day-to-day. So that also made us sort of geared towards making an enjoyable but also informative experience.
So his partner also is a TCK. So Eric is Italian and grew up in Nicaragua and now is in Spain. And so unfortunately, he was supposed to be with us, but due to visa issues, he's not here. So how did you two meet? Because we find that TCKs typically, or people who are culturally fluid, it's like a magnet. You're just drawn to each other, and then later you find out you have this similar background. So how did you two meet?
Yes, so as I mentioned before, Madrid, we had a pilot project in Barcelona called the Paella Club, which I actually just mentioned. And I started that 8-9 years ago with a different business partner. And my ex-business partner and myself hired Eric as our kitchen manager. And immediately Eric and I, it was just, as you say, we clicked immediately. He's also more or less my age, a little bit older, but more or less. And when we started to work together, it was synchronized swimming. Literally, we would give the classes and I would take a step and he would just walk behind me, and then he would walk in front of me and I would hand him something. It was just perfect. So when I eventually decided to take a bigger step and move to Madrid, I really wanted Eric to be a part of this because he's a fantastic person. Luckily, I mean, I wish he was here to be here. But apart from being a fantastic person, the way that we work together is ideal. So when I decided to go to Madrid, I knew that he had to be a part of it. So I asked him if he wanted to be, one of my business partners. He agreed, and we both moved from Barcelona to Madrid specifically for this project.
It's funny because I met Eric first, and I thought his name was Alex. So I called him Alex, I don't know, for months. He never said anything. And then I met Alex. I'm like, wait, you're both Alex? He's like, no, that's not
the other guy.
So tell me, what is your favorite thing about growing up the way you did? And I'm wondering if it's, back to the pig story. Is that part of what gave you that passion for cooking? Like, how did that develop?
It developed because, again, my parents have always been entrepreneurs, and one of the many cycles that they did, huge foodies, but they also had a catering business. So I remember being like 8 or 9 years old, and my mom like baking huge trays of brownies, and I would help her cut them. And food has always been a really big part of our culture. And like to this day, they love doing. They're like, hey, you want to come over? We're doing Thai food. My parents moved to Spain a couple years ago, so like, do you want to come over? Like, we're doing Thai food, or hey, like we're doing this, we're doing that. So having that background and those specific memories of the pig or the brownies, or one time that we did this in marisqueria. So it was all seafood fried in the backyard, and we had this huge pot of oil, and it started raining, and obviously a pot of hot oil and rain don't go well. So we're like, yeah, let's grab an umbrella. So there was 2 of us holding an umbrella in the rain, and then we're like, no, we shouldn't be holding an umbrella, it's thundering. So it was just these like little stories. I remember them very vividly, and all of this has helped me sort of keep going towards working in the food industry, which again, it's not easy. I left Michelin star restaurants because it's just not a healthy environment, but I kept always one step further, one step further, one step further, because it's very embedded in me.
It's interesting because I'm thinking about some of the trials and tribulations that you had to go through to make the Cooking Clubhouse happen. 1, how long did it take? And 2, give us a couple of stories of some of the challenges you had to overcome, and because it sounds like the way you grew up really helped you be tenacious in overcoming those.
So, from when we found the building until when we actually opened to the guests, it was about 6 months old. Also, now looking back at it, I probably should have done this. Apart from the fact that the building was huge, it's also a historic building in the city, so it means that it's protected by the government, which means that you cannot take the wood out, you cannot knock down a wall. And then at the moment I was like, yeah, let's do it, it's fine. Now I'm like, oh God, like we jumped through hoops to make it work. So I would probably, that was a huge learning curve, but I'm very glad I did it. What else?
I just remembered you didn't tell us about the stages. So you had the cooking class upstairs, and then there's that beautiful, how long? 800?
7 meters.
7 meter table, however long that is in feet, downstairs. But then the last time I was there, you opened it's like a bar room?
The bar,
right?
yeah.
And then in the back, it's like a painting room?
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah.
How did these stages come about? And was that part of the tenacity? Because I think they still had all the debris, we're talking, how old is this building?
180 years.
So it was bricks, it was wood, it was nails back there. And it's so funny because the rest of it was so beautiful. I only know because we have this partnership, so I got to see it. But they dug all of that out and created this amazing space. So those last 2 rooms, and is there another one in the back that I haven't seen yet as well?
The storage area, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
so after the cooking area and the dining area, from the beginning in the business plan, the idea was to eventually open a bar, because again, after a bottle of wine, everyone's best friends and they want to hang around still. So we eventually opened the bar with this. We were like so excited. We were sure it was going to work. We spent money on it. Like we had it all set up. And then the first day we're like, okay, well, the experience is over. It's 10 o'clock. But if you want to stick around for drinks, you can do so at the bar. Nobody stayed. The next day, same thing. Nobody stayed. And that happened until we realized that it didn't matter how well organized it was, how good the drinks were, people just didn't want to stay. Staying more than 3 hours, 3.5 hours at one location when you're on vacation is too much. You know, there's so much to do in Madrid, there's so much to see, and we do work very heavily with tourism. So even though it was well thought, well planned, and we knew it was going to work, it didn't work. So now the bar is actually our office, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
With that beautiful purple.
It's a beautiful
purple
office.
Purple velvet wraparound couch. Yeah. What?
Yes. So it's a very beautiful office, but we have to use the space for something. So now it's an office area.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
But then the painting room is still there.
The painting room now turned into a smaller second dining room.
Okay.
Because now we offer a tapas tour. So we take you to our favorite bars and restaurants. You have a drink and a tapa, and then you come back to that second dining room for a private sit-down dinner with wine pairing. Yeah.
So explain. I mean, most people think they know what tapa is in Spain. So tell us the history. Like, tell us a little bit more about tapas and what it really is.
Okay. So there's a couple theories. I'm going to tell you my favorite one. So it's said that a long time ago, the Spanish monarchy was traveling from Madrid to Sevilla, which back then was on horse-drawn carriage, very long drive. And they stopped in a small town, and they went to a local bar. So the king walked in and asked for a glass of wine. And the bar owner, he got nervous. He's like, I want to serve the king drinks, but I don't want any flies in there. You know, back then, not very hygienic, just sort of a disaster. So he got creative, and he grabbed the glass of wine, and he put a piece of bread on top. Does anyone here speak Spanish? Sí. How do you say lid? Una tapa. So when you put a lid on something, tú le pones una tapa. So he gave the king a glass of wine with a lid, and the king loved that. He thought that was fantastic. You know, not only is there no, flies in your drink, you're sort of getting free food from this. So from there, the king made a declaration that you always had to serve you had to serve something on top of the wine glass. So then people got creative. You know, it started off with bread, and then it was a slice of chorizo, and then it was a slice of chorizo with bread, and so on and so on. So the culture of tapas in Spain is that you go to a place, you have a drink, they give you something to nibble on, and then you go to the next one. And then you have a drink, and you have something to nibble on. And each bar or restaurant has their traditional or typical tapa.
Fantastic. So I'm glad that you said that. Tell us a little bit more about the paella experience that we'll be having tonight and what guests can expect.
Okay, all right. So what can you expect? So we've brought all of these ingredients over from Spain. The paella pan itself, everything has been brought over directly for you guys. You can expect some delicious food, definitely. All right. So you're going to be working, for those coming tonight, you're going to be working in pairs. Each of you has your very own cooking station. As I mentioned, the boring part, we have done that all morning. We've been chopping onions for you all morning. All right. So you can expect to learn the step-by-step into making a traditional paella. We're going to be making 3 different kinds. And apart from that, you can expect to really enjoy yourselves and to sort of forget about whatever you have going on that is negative at the moment. You're gonna get to connect with other people that you may or may not know. We have a lot of wine from Spain as well, so if you're working tomorrow and you're hungover, that's on you guys, it's not on us, all right? It's not our problem. But you can definitely keep that in mind. You know, I feel like people sometimes have the misconception that cooking is a chore. And it can be a chore, but if you do it properly and you do it with the right people and with the right attitude, it's actually very fun. It's very therapeutic, and I think you're going to enjoy it.
Well, I'm super excited because, as you know, Cultures has an award-winning dinner party kit, Culture Celebrations. They had their paella kit, and so we've brought those together, and some of you have already purchased, so I'm super excited. So what can people expect in the kit?
Of course. So the kit itself, again, it's a traditional paella pan from Spain. Apart from that, you have arroz bomba. Arroz bomba is from a specific area in Spain from Valencia, which is the most traditional paella rice you can use. You're also going to be having some extra virgin cold pressed olive oil that we work directly with the producer. Special spice mix, which is the Cooking Clubhouse spice mix. It's the one that we made and use for all of our paellas. And apart from that, without saffron, you don't have a paella. So you're also gonna have some Spanish saffron in there, apart from everything that the Cultures pack is including.
So a little shout out to Valencia, because unfortunately there's a lot of floods historic floods in Spain right now. And the royal family, as you talk about the king, was getting a lot of flack originally when they went down to visit and see what's been happening. I mean, cars piled up in mud, just craziness. And I lived in Valencia this year and last year. And so it's really interesting to see what has happened in the south end of the town. But now it's turning around, and the royal family is starting to get some praise for their work there. So prayers out to those in Valencia and those with the heavy rains in Barcelona as well, as we have this dinner this evening.
Yeah, it's crazy how it was a tragedy for sure. Many people have unfortunately passed away. Many people have lost their homes and all that. But it's crazy how a tragedy can really bring people together. I've been in Spain for 12 years and I've never seen anything like this. Like, the government was literally telling people, like, do not come, like, stay home. We have too many people helping us. Like, we have enough supplies. Like, there was so much outpour of help that I have never seen in Spain. So it's devastating, but also very heartwarming.
100%. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you, and we look forward to this evening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Cultures is so excited to partner with the Cooking Clubhouse from Madrid with our latest culture celebration, which is all about paella. So tell us, what is in the kit from the Cooking Clubhouse?
Of course. So back in Spain, paella is all about bringing family and friends together. It's our equivalent to like a Sunday barbecue. So in our paella kit, you have the traditional paella pan, which is good between 2 or 4 people. And then it also has arroz bomba, which is imported from Spain. We're using extra virgin olive oil, which is also imported from Spain. A special spice mix that we make for our paellas. And most importantly, saffron, which is a key ingredient in any paella.
Absolutely love it. And it's all beautiful as well. As you know, Culture Celebrations brings you the invitations, the thank you notes, the menus for your tablescape, as well as the name place cards, and all the authentic recipes from the Cooking Clubhouse to make your dishes that go along with the paella. And it tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So it makes entertaining easy. We look forward to you trying Culture Celebrations from Madrid with the Cooking Clubhouse. Thanks for being part of the Destinations Podcast family. We're so glad you're here, and you can help us grow as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, whether you're listening or watching. And make sure that we bring you content that helps you not only be truly authentically you, but helps you embrace your cultural passions.